What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today I have the Cincinnati Bengals season preview for y'all, so let's get into it. So last year they finished with a 12-4 record, which was good enough for first in the AFC North, and they made it all the way to the AFC Championship before falling to the Kansas City Chiefs 23-20. So they were that close to making it back to the Super Bowl, but they did bring in a decent amount of good guys to help improve this roster and hopefully make another run this upcoming year. They brought in offensive tackle Orlando Brown, so they know protecting Joe Burrow is the number one thing. Healthy quarterback, successful season, they go hand in hand. They brought in safety Nick Scott, tight end Irv Smith. So they brought in good veteran guys to help bolster this team. They did lose a good handful of players. Running back Samaje Perine, cornerback Eli Apple, safety Von Bell, safety Jesse Bates, tight end Hayden Hurst. Their punter, Kevin Huber, retired. Cornerback Trey Flowers. So they did lose a lot of guys on that defensive side of the ball. Luckily, they were able to re-sign guys like linebacker Jermaine Pratt, cornerback Jalen Davis, and tight end Drew Sample. So their defensive side of the ball took more of a hit than their offensive side of the ball this offseason. That's okay because in this draft, this past year's draft, they did address the defensive side of the ball a lot more than the offensive side of the ball. With their first pick, they got defensive end Miles Murphy. Then they grabbed cornerback DJ Turner. Then they got safety Jordan Battle. So three guys that could make an impact right away for this team. They then got wide receiver Charlie Jones, running back Chase Brown, wide receiver Andre Iosivas. I think that's how you say his name. Punter Brad Robbins, cornerback DJ Ivy. So a lot of their draft picks were geared towards the defensive side of the ball because that's where they lost a lot of guys this past offseason. And one of the scary things was just recently in training camp, Joe Burrow went down with a calf injury, and head coach Zach Taylor basically said, like, yeah, we're shutting him down. He's not going to see any preseason action. So hopefully Joe Burrow is healed and ready to play in week one. So luckily they didn't bring in a new offensive coordinator or head coach or anything of that nature. So they can just easily plug him back in and he can just play in the scheme that he was used to. Let's hop over to their schedule and my record prediction for this upcoming year for the Bengals. All right, so starting off in week one, they have the Cleveland Browns. And with Joe Burrow, this possibly being the game that he sees his first action this year, I think this could go very sideways for the Bengals. I want to say Burrow has like a 1-4 record against the Browns in his career. So for some odd reason, the Browns have just owned the Battle of Ohio and have had Joe Burrow's number for pretty much his entire career. So I don't see things starting out great for the Bengals, especially, like I said, this being his first game time action, missing the whole preseason with his calf injury. So I think this week one matchup against the Browns will be a loss. And then I think week two, yeah, it's going to go back and forth all the way down this. So that's just so you all know. So in week two, they have the Baltimore Ravens, and I think this could also be another loss for the team, depending on how well Joe Burrow plays, if he's 100% healthy. So things could get ugly early for the Bengals, with this being a loss as well. And Joe Burrow right here, he's even calling a shot right here, week three against the Los Angeles Rams will be the Bengals' first win of the season. So thanks, Burrow, for the assist right there with the W. After getting that first win, I think they rebound with 2 wins in a row, make it three because they have the Cardinals after that. And then they have the Seattle Seahawks in week six. And Seattle's one of those teams where, yeah, they had a nice year last year. They made the playoffs under Geno Smith. But I'm not really 100% sold on the Seahawks. So I do think Cincinnati can win this game. So after losing the first two, they win the next four and head into their week seven bye with a 4-2 record, which isn't terrible. And then coming out of their bye, it's kind of tough for them. They have the San Francisco 49ers, which I think will be a loss for this team. And then they play the Buffalo Bills, which I think will also be a loss for this team. Because in my mind, Joe Burrow is the type of quarterback that as soon as the doctors say he's ready to play, he's going to be on that field giving everything for his team, even if his body is not 100%. And I feel like he could be playing this year not at 100%. So during these big matchups against teams that could really go either way, I might be favoring the other team just because if Burrow's not 100%, then it's really not a fair fight. But luckily, they have games that are easier to win, like this Houston Texans game in week 10. I feel like they could easily win that. I think they get revenge on the Ravens as well as beat the Steelers in week 12. But then they go and they play Jacksonville, which Jacksonville is a much improved team, and I think they'll lose this one as well. Then they play the Colts with a rookie quarterback in Anthony Richardson, which I do think they will be able to win pretty easily. And then they play the Vikings, which, once again, if Joe Burrow was 100% healthy, then I'd say this would probably be a win. But with the uncertainty surrounding that, I'm going to give the Vikings the benefit of the doubt. But they rebound nicely with a win against the Steelers. And then they finish the year against Kansas City, which I feel will be an L. And in week 18, they close the regular season against the Cleveland Browns. And the Browns have, like I said before, the Browns have had their number. So it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if the Browns were able to actually sweep the Bengals. So I'm going to say a loss right there. And that brings their season total to what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that brings their season total to 9-8. 9-8. And originally I had their win total being so much higher, but that Burrow calf injury has kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, just because calf injuries, like the severity of them, could be a few weeks, it could be a long time. It could be like a lingering nagging issue that he faces for the rest of the regular season, whether or not like he could still be healthy enough to play, but it could also just be back in the mind, just aches and pains, and just not causing him to be 100%. And I and because he's sustained that, and it's like fresh on my mind right now, like I have my doubts about this team. Could it not affect him whatsoever? Yeah, sure, but at the recording of this, I feel like it'll hinder him, Burrow, and the Bengals season, but they'll still finish with a 9-8 record or better. I definitely think 9-8 is their floor. So I expect them to be competitive once again, regardless of how Burrow is. But yeah, let me know what you think. Like the video, subscribe. I'll catch you with another one. Hey, God bless.